I found something today that made me think about how little acts of kindness can stay with people for much longer than we realize. And honestly, when I did this thing, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think it would become a memory. Okay, I definitely didn't think that almost a year on or almost a year later, I would find out that it actually meant something to the person I did it for. So let me tell you what happened. A few years ago, I was working at this company, okay, and at some point, I was selected as the leader of the week, as was culture of the place. Basically, every week, somebody on the team would take up that role, okay, and one of the things or one of our responsibilities, which we were encouraged to do, one of the things we were encouraged to do was to organize some kind of activity for the team. So I thought about what I could do that week and went like, okay, let's do something fun, right? So I came up with this idea. We were going to secretly exchange gifts. That was the idea I came up with. Everybody would pick a name from a bowl, and whoever's name you picked, you would buy them some small present. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. But there was one rule to it, that it should be kept anonymous. So nobody was supposed to know who gave who the gift. So we did the whole thing, and everybody picked the names the Friday before my week would start. Everybody was excited about it. And then the week started, but there was a little problem. Um, on Monday, when we came, we were introduced to a new person who had joined the team. His name was Bernard. And obviously, because we had already picked the names the previous week, Bernard hadn't picked anybody, and nobody had picked Bernard, which meant that when everybody started receiving their gifts, Bernard was going to be left out. It was going to be the one person sitting there without one. And I remember thinking that no, we cannot let that happen. So, as the leader of the week, what do I have to do? So he had literally just joined the team. And imagine if you had joined a new team, you've come to a new workplace, and everyone is exchanging gifts, and you are the only person who doesn't get one. How would you have felt? So I decided to do something, and that morning on my way to work, I bought Bernard two pairs of socks, one black, one brown. Nothing expensive, just two pairs of socks at the taxi station. And I decided to add a little note. I wanted it to be anonymous, as was the rule. So I even changed my handwriting because I didn't want anybody to recognize that it was from me. And I wrote, "Hello, Bernard. For someone who I believe is going to go far in this life, you surely will need these for the shoes that will take you there." That's it. That was the gift. Two pairs of socks and that little note. So I put it on his desk while he wasn't there, because that was the whole point of the game, that nobody was supposed to know who had given it to him. And when he came back, he found the gift, and of course, everybody started wondering who gave Bernard a gift, right? Because he wasn't even there when we were picking the names. People started guessing. Some people thought it was from one of the ladies on the team. Some people had theories, but nobody actually knew. And honestly, I just enjoyed watching everybody try to figure that out. And I never told Bernard that it was from me. even though he wanted to know so badly, right? Um, then life happened. Months passed, and in October 2025, as you know, I was laid off from that company. I left. And when I went back a few days after I got that call of me being laid off to go pack my stuff, to go collect some of my things, I noticed that Bernard had moved into a new office. But then I saw something. I saw the note on his new desk. That little note was still there. He had taken it from his old desk and put it on his new desk. And I remember seeing it and thinking, wow, he still has that. And at this point, the ink was a little faded. Okay. But again, still, I didn't say anything. I never told him that I was the person who had written it. Fast forward to today. So today I was on my way to the hospital, and I got a WhatsApp message from Bernard. He told me that he was going to be leaving the company at the end of this month. We got talking, right? We were talking, catching up, and I told him that I was sure he was going to do well. And then I remembered that little note. So I finally told him, by the way, that the gift you received, that note that came from with the socks, just as I said on the note that came with the socks, I know you're going to do well. So that was how I finally revealed that it was me. And he goes, oh, so finally I get to know it was you. And then he told me something I wasn't expecting. So Bernard said to me that that note really took away a lot of my fear when I started working at the company. For real. That was what he said. And that stopped me because for me, I had completely forgotten even about the note. It was just something in passing and something that I remembered just by chatting and then wishing him well, right, for his next adventure. I had completely forgotten about it. For me, it was just something small. I saw a new person who was going to work with the team, who had come in new to work with the team and who was not going to get a gift. And I didn't want him to feel left out. That was the whole reason why I did what I did. So I bought him some socks, I wrote a nice sentence, and I left it on his desk, and that was it. But for him, it was something different. He had just entered into a new community. He had just started at a new company. So he probably had all the normal fears that comes with joining a new place or starting somewhere new. Am I good enough? Will the people like me? Will I fit in? Will I succeed here? And somehow, this little anonymous note that I wrote from someone he didn't even know gave him a little bit of confidence, and he kept it. And I think that's why I'm telling you this story today. That's why I wrote it all out to tell you today. Because you really don't know what your small act of kindness might mean to somebody. You might think, oh, it's nothing, just like I thought. You might think it's just a compliment, it's just a message, it's just buying somebody lunch, it's just checking in on somebody, it's just helping them with something, it's just telling them that they are doing a good job. But you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know what they were thinking about themselves before you spoke to them. You don't know whether that 5 second 5 second compliment might be the thing that makes them feel seen that day. You don't know whether that message you almost decided not to send is exactly what somebody needed to hear. You don't know. And that's the beautiful thing, I think, about kindness. You don't always get to see the impact. Sometimes you won't even know that you made a difference. And that's okay. I think sometimes we imagine that making an impact in someone's life has to involve something huge. We think we need to change someone's life. We need to give them a lot of money. We need to make some good grand gesture. But sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's a handwritten note. Sometimes it's just asking someone, are you okay? Sometimes it's introducing yourself to the person standing alone in the room. Sometimes it's telling somebody, I believe you can do this. Sometimes it's simply making sure that somebody or someone doesn't feel forgotten. And you may never know how much that meant to them. And there's another part of this that I've been thinking about. When I was laid off from that company, I left, right? That chapter in my life ended as I believed, or as I believed. People moved on. I moved on. The company continued. But something that I did while I was there stayed. That little piece of paper survived me leaving. It moved from one desk to another. And apparently, it became meaningful enough for Bernard to keep it. And I think that's pretty incredible. That's so nice. Because maybe that's part of what we leave behind. Not just the big things, not just the job titles, not just our achievements, not just the money we made at our company, but these tiny moments where we made somebody's day a little better. So, if you are watching this, I want to encourage you to do something small for somebody. Don't overthink it. You don't need a grand plan. Send the message. Give the compliment. Help somebody out. Buy somebody lunch. Check on your friend. Welcome the new person. Tell someone you believe in them. If somebody looks like they are struggling, ask them if they are okay. And don't do it because you are expecting something back. No, do it because you can. Because you may never see what happens afterwards. You may never find out that somebody remembered your words for years. You may never know that the thing you thought was insignificant was actually significant to someone else. You may never know. And maybe that's the point. Kindness doesn't always need an audience. Sometimes you just do that good thing and you move on. Okay? And years later, you might discover that. Sorry, there's a truck passing. And years later, you might discover that the person never moved on from it. So, the next time you have the opportunity to do something kind for somebody, please do it. Even if it's small, especially if it is small, because you really never know how far that little act of kindness will go. If this resonates with you, let me hear your story. What kind thing did someone do for you that has stuck with you, or what kind thing did you do, just as little as it is, did you do that you never knew had an impact on the person's life till later the person told you about? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and join this community of doers and action takers. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.